Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Talking to a Biologist. Today we're with Dr. Jeffrey Marcus from the Department of Biological Sciences. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your main area of research and why all these butterflies here in the room.
So I work in the field of phylogenomics, which is reconstructing the history of the genome, and we use the evolution of the genome in order to understand the relationships among species, in this case among species of butterflies.
So right behind us here in this in these aquarium-like structures, we have some butterflies. Are these butterflies you would find here in Manitoba, or are they specifically grown in that chamber?
So one of the varieties of butterflies, it's called the common buckeye butterfly, does occur sometime in the late summer in Manitoba, but it doesn't get up this far north in all years. The other species we have is the mangrove buckeye butterfly, which is from Florida.
So from Florida. So what about yourself? Where did you do your undergraduate, and what brought you here to the University of Manitoba?
So I did my undergraduate degree at Cornell University in New York State, which is where I grew up. And I came here to the University of Manitoba about a year ago to join the Department of Biological Sciences.
And so you moved from New York. Where else have you been?
I was in New York. I did my master's degree in Cambridge, England, my PhD at Duke University in North Carolina, my postdoc in Buffalo, New York at the State University of New York at Buffalo. My first job as a professor was in Kentucky, and now I'm here.
So you moved from Kentucky to Winnipeg. So how was your first winter in Winnipeg?
I never actually got out my heavy winter coat. It didn't get cold enough.
Well, that's good to hear. So tell us more about the butterflies behind us. How difficult is it to keep them growing in culture, I guess you would say, almost?
Well, they need a lot of sunlight. So one of the advantages we have is that Winnipeg is such a sunny place in the wintertime. So we have these flight cages here in the windows, and that allows the butterflies to get enough sun even in the wintertime to mate and reproduce.
We've looked at a number of different collections of biological specimens here at the University of Manitoba. We've been to the Hermarium with the Talking to the Biology series. Are we going to be seeing more butterfly collections, or is there already a butterfly collection here at the U of M?
The Department of Entomology here at the U of M actually has a fairly large collection of both butterflies and moths. I brought with me a smaller research collection of butterflies and moths that I use for the work in the lab. But if we have to refer to anything for teaching purposes, we'll probably use the Department of Entomology's material from Manitoba.
Some of these butterflies and moths here in the lab are very, very large. Do we find those here in Manitoba?
So while most of my butterflies are, in fact, not native to Manitoba, many of the moth species that I've studied do occur here. So the very large moth species that you see over on the bench can get to be as much as maybe 10 centimeters in wingspan, and you do find them especially in the rural areas of the province.
Very, very interesting. So you are looking at both the evolutionary processes, and really the butterflies are just your species of choice. What first got you interested in the life sciences?
I was very interested, particularly in fish as a kid, and I kept many fish tanks. I used to like to go fishing all of the time, and that was sort of my entry point into studying the life sciences. So my first couple of research experiences were in vertebrates looking at fish, and then later in amphibians. What I found was that for my research to answer the kinds of questions that I wanted to answer, I needed to work with an organism that grew a little bit faster, that reproduced in more abundance, and could be reliably cultured in the lab. So I switched to insects, and in particular to butterflies.
So it sounds like butterflies may just be a slightly better looking version of the fruit fly.
In some respects, fruit flies fundamentally lack charisma, but in this case, we actually know a lot about how butterflies interact with their environment. We know what many of their color patterns are for. Some of them are for camouflage, others are for thermoregulation or to avoid predators or even to attract mates. So by linking what we understand about the ecology of these organisms and what they do with their color patterns, we can begin to link the genetic underpinnings for how we make, for example, a color pattern with what that color pattern does for the organism in its natural environment.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Marcus. This has been today's edition of Talking to a Biologist. We'll return you to your lecture.